Okay, so if I were starting a screen printing business or an apparel decorating business from scratch, what would I do to build from the ground up?
Alrighty, print hustlers, it's back. We are back. Got a couple things that we are excited just to riff on and chat on. We figured, hey, instead of just call each other or text in our text groups, let's just hit record and do that. So, number one, this kind of interesting thought exercise, which I love for everyone to share what their thoughts are in the comments. But if you started a shop brand new from $0 again in sales, what would you do out of the gate? What are the things you would buy? What are the things you would do or not do? And we came up with a list of things that you could do that I think you can, under 10K to start the business and get going is a great way to get moving and start getting some sales in and orders out the door. Also, I'm sure you've heard DGI Apparel, one of our previous partners of the podcast, is closed. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that too.
Salty Steven. All right. This podcast would not be possible without our incredible sponsors. I'm going to first start out with Multicraft. Bruce, you've heard of Multicraft_Daddy. If you need ink supplies or a daddy, Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years has been providing you with top brands at competitive prices and the best dad videos on Instagram. Dave just did a video on the history of screen printing and the patron saints of screen printing, and it was dad worthy. So mention the Printavo podcast. You'll receive an extra 10% off your first order. And Dave gives away a free case of PMI tape for every episode. You just have to DM him. First time customers only. Multicraft_Daddy.
Graphics Pro Expo. It is coming in August. It's right around the corner. They're launching a huge show in Long Beach. Graphics Pro Expo in Long Beach is August 21st to 23rd. You get 50% off your tickets, by the way, if you use the code HUSTLERS, all caps, HUSTLERS. That gets you 50% off your registration fee. You go to graphics-pro-expo.com and you'll see the link down in the description. You can click it. They've got an incredible show again. They've got the latest in screen printing. This is a big one. They've got DTF, embroidery, a bunch more, plus a really cool Graphics Pro University. So they've got a lot of experts there. They're doing a ton of training. We'll be there. A bunch of the Printavo team members will be there. So check it out, graphics-pro-expo.com. GraphX Source. If you need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, GraphX Source offers industry-leading options for your shop. Campus Ink's rocking with 3, 4 or so artists to be able to help with production art, creative art, 6, order management, digitizing, and some customer service. But really that production art is huge for Campus Ink. They've been around for over 40 years. So they've really been helping so many shops, and they've plug and played with Printavo, which is really, really cool. Steven's been to their facility, and I've seen photos of just like so many Printavo monitors open and people uploading art, changing statuses. So that's pretty cool. Printavo 24. That's the code. Printavo Pod 24. 50% off your first Vector SEP or digitized order.
Bruce, EasyWay is launching a new monthly giveaway. So if you're spending hours cleaning dirty screens, that is a thing of the past. They have a new monthly giveaway program to give back to their amazing customers. Each month, they're going to be giving away a $250 prize. Go to easyway.com/giveaway. Make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier with EasyWay systems, chemicals, and equipment. And head to easyway.com/giveaway. It is the easiest way.
Welcoming our new partner, Stalls. If you are ready to take custom apparel to the next level, Stalls is the leader in heat printing solutions. Whether you're a small business just starting out or an established brand that's scaling, Stalls makes the hustle easier. We're here so you can simply heat press and profit. Stalls has an incredible amount of offerings. If you go to their website, stalls.com, you could just browse through. You can get samples, try it. Also, you could see them at a ton of trade shows as well, which is really cool. Use the code word HUSTLER20, HUSTLER20. That gets you 20% off your next DTF transfer order. Give it a try. Not only that, but as you know, they've got an incredible amount of equipment in addition to the transfers, but they really support your business. The team there is incredible, super nice, and they have great support. So check it out. Stalls.com. Use that code Hustler20. Printprofit.com. We've had Nick G from Print Profit on the podcast a couple times. This thing is powerful. If you're looking to understand profitability in real time as the month goes on and not just wait till the books are closed at the end of the month, this tool can really, really be helpful. They've got some incredible analytics around profitability for your business. It plugs into Printavo. It's got costs that you've entered in. It's got your sales you've entered in. And it's really like your profitability co-pilot. You can run your shop with confidence, knowing exactly where to focus to close better deals, increase margins, and grow profitability every day. But really cool though, go to printprofit.com and you can get a free profit audit done on your shop. So check that out. Worst case, I mean, that's an incredible way to see where you are at. All right, let's jump on in. I read an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal about the science and research around giving feedback.
Ooh.
And how to make it like better received, I should say, I think is the right word. So especially if it's negative feedback. So I want to share that. I also wanted to share, and you sent me a screenshot originally, but that DGI Apparel.com is no longer, obviously was a partner of the podcast, but more than that, you know, a lot of shops were using them to purchase goods for their vendors and automate it through with Printavo and like, you know, super easy platform to use, but it is no longer. And if you go to DGIapparel.com, it says, thank you from all of us at DGI Apparel. After 2 years of serving the apparel community, we have made the difficult decision to wind down operations. This message isn't what could have been. It's a thank you to everyone who believed in us building. And, you know, they said they served over 2,800 apparel businesses. It's a lot. And so on, so on. There's some extra fluff and stuff here in a picture of them in the caution vest at the trade show at the bottom. What do you think?
I'm very sad. So first of all, the guys that build DGI Apparel are great individuals and are super talented. Arguably, some of the most talented engineers since Printavo came to the industry.
They're extremely talented, yes.
Extremely talented. I don't know if the industry recognizes how difficult it is to get accepted into Y Combinator, the largest tech accelerator in the world that has created the most like unicorn billion-dollar companies, and perhaps don't appreciate how fast they moved and how quickly they built. And so the technology itself was a piece of game-changing technology for our industry that the industry has never seen before to that scale. I just want to stop there for a second and get your feedback on, like, Bruce, you built Printavo. It took you several years to build it, get it off the ground, get users, do all that. Can you maybe comment on just from an engineering standpoint and what they built and how quickly they built it, maybe from a technical background, what you saw?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think more specifically, working with distributors' catalogs. I know Alpha is now rolled up under SNS, but, you know, let's just say 6 months ago, SNS, Alpha Broder, the smaller catalogs, Sanmar, they are very difficult technologically to import that data into a quoting interface like Printavo. They are also very difficult to work with to be able to handle purchasing and send orders out, which is, you know, something that we looked at, but we really stuck to pulling in account-based pricing and be just staying there for now. With that said, that data, everyone knows there's so many SKUs, there's so many colors and prices. Each of the vendors does this type of stuff differently. And so to be able to synthesize all of that information and make it really, really simple to be able to handle purchasing is crazy. Like, kind of a dream scenario for me as a technology person building software there, but then I think also just as a shop using it, like your team, Mila, or I'm not sure who's handling it.
The software was a dream. We literally took our purchasing down from one and a half employees doing it all day, every day, to purchasing for 1 hour a day automatically. And so it was the savings alone could be $40,000 to $50,000 a year just in time. And from shops using it, shops absolutely loved it. From the distributor standpoint, I think they were a little salty at the way it rolled out, to say the least.
Do say more.
Well, I try to think of other instances in the world where legacy brands or legacy companies built something and then a new piece of technology disrupted it, right? And so I don't know when Expedia or Orbitz came out, but I bet you like the airlines and Hilton probably didn't love that Expedia aggregated all of the reservation booking, platforms for all of the different hotels and airlines, right? Probably didn't help them. They probably liked when people went direct to Hyatt or Hilton or Marriott.com, right? So I look at those analogies like the taxi drivers did not like when Uber came to town, right? It is super disruptive. And so on one hand, there are individuals in our industry that are industry leaders that saw it and immediately started bashing it. And to those that did, shame on you. Because if something is innately better for the space, but it doesn't necessarily benefit you, to thwart technology is selfish. And so that's my hot take. I don't work for anyone but myself, but that sucks.
Did you know that 55% of travel bookings and hospitality bookings are through like these so-called online travel agencies? And it just like slowly keeps ticking up. Isn't that? Now I know you're like, this is getting into the weeds, but like it sucks to book through those agencies because then you don't get as good as service.
Sure.
If
but we all
something goes
started
wrong,
doing that.
Right. You can compare it really easily and everything, but yeah, it's not the best experience for that. But yeah, anyway, go on.
What's interesting is at a conference I was at recently, so there are, unfortunately DGI kind of in the way they built it, they couldn't really rely on some of the infrastructure of the industry. And so they had to build a lot of their own tech. And some of that tech didn't align with how these big distributors work. And so, ironically enough, one of the distributors was at a conference talking about one of the people in the audience said, "What is this industry missing?" And this individual said, "Technology. We are behind in technology." And another individual in the room looked at me and kind of smiled and laughed because we're like, well, why are they taking small tech companies to court over disruptive technology that's moving the industry forward? And so like, it was kind of I was like, really? Like, I don't know. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I didn't love it.
My thoughts were, yeah, I mean, I think what was incredible was that they showed innovation from customer demand. People needed something like this. They need some sort of tool to help make a small business more efficient. A small business is very hard to operate. Everybody, we talked about this in the last episode, it's just the amount of things that you're doing constantly is just over the moon. And so anything to help make it more efficient is a huge win. And DGI played in that realm. And so that's incredible to see. Point A, I think point B, technological innovation, to your point, is very slow in this space. I mean, and it's very difficult to move very quickly over time. Like as you have more and more businesses that use a product, it has to be more stable. It has to be more thoughtful. It has to be slower. And they were able to move at like this crazy light speed pace that was really, really cool and disruptive I feel in a positive way for the businesses, for the end consumers. It definitely poked at a soft spot. Maybe it's a sensitive spot, right? In that, like, hey, we've talked to Frank at SNS about this. We've talked to folks at Samurai about this. And it's like, how do you guys think about it? Because, what else is there to offer beyond just price comparing, which a lot of shops, I mean, your team will do the same thing, right? You'll have two windows open and, compare, especially for bigger things to look and see where you guys want to place a job. And so to help make that a little bit quicker was, I think, a win for a lot of shops, but definitely scared the distributors. Now, that makes me think, okay, for a distributor, we need to really rethink our value proposition, right? Because if this is threatening that, that's a little, that would scare me in a sense of, we need to level up here. What industries can we look at to be able to take inspiration from, to be able to meet the customer? What does the customer exactly need now that we can meet for them? I mean, you had a great point of like, does that ordering technology exist to be able to help them place orders better? I mean, let's just spitball for a second. Imagine SNS, or let's just say, imagine SNS acquired DGI Apparel. And they said, now you can one click place your orders through us via a Printavo, I don't know, any other shop management solutions out there, and make it that much easier. So now we're not copying all the data that you put in already in a quote and then copying it again and searching for it and placing it and going through the warehouses and back orders and whatever else. That, to me, leveraging that to meet the customer demand, that's interesting. Not only that, because then they could close off any other distributor, but also be able to allow for turnaround time to place those orders. It's like how Amazon is so convenient to order from. You order too much. You literally open that app and place the order. Remember when you had to go to Google Shopping or other places to compare, totals with shipping and all this stuff? You order so much because of the convenience factor is so high. And Bezos has talked about that. So anyway, that's what I think would have been an interesting path, and maybe that's still possible. I don't know. But I do think that there's also a part of partnerships. And I don't know I don't know in the weeds here. I don't want to overspeak, but I do think that especially in a more established space, it's always important to build partnerships and to have those to be able to lean on and meet with people and communicate with people and like have a strong connection to be able to say, hey, here's what we're doing. What do you think? Right. We don't want to step on your toes, but like, this is, look at the traction this is getting and so on.
Yeah. And I think, I'd try, I was thinking about like Spotify, right? Have you seen the Spotify docuseries or whatever?
My wife watched it. I didn't see it, though.
It was dubbed. You have to watch it in another language, but the record labels did not like Spotify. Like the fact that it was democratizing, making music free and easy to stream with ads. Like they went through years of lawsuits and, issues with Sony and the different music studios and how to get the rights and the record labels and all that stuff. But when they finally put their heads together and got past it, they made one of the most, game-changing pieces of software in music, right? Literally like put Apple Music back in its seat and said, no, we're going to do it even better and differently. What's interesting about Spotify is there was actually a tool that came out before Spotify that went about it in an unorthodox way called Grooveshark. Did you know that? Did you ever use Grooveshark?
I use Grooveshark, yeah. I use all those tools.
And eventually they shut down and they said, Spotify is actually building this a better way or different way, and you should all use that.
Do you remember why Spotify did they create partnerships with the...
Yeah, I think at first there was a lot of friction. Now, Sony was one of the biggest investors in Spotify, I believe, or something like that. I don't quite recall. But once they got past the friction, there's a lot of scenes in that movie of like lawyers and stuff talking. But once they were able to move past it and figure out a rev share model that worked and, the streaming rights and all that, then they were able to move together and move really, really quickly. And I think that's the thing, like SandMar and SNS, they have open APIs that you can use. But if you want to actually do what DGI did, you would have to hire an engineer, build on promo standards. It's just, you would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to build that just for your shop. And I bet you some of the bigger companies in our industry use, promo standards and all that stuff. But the fact that they were able to package it and build it and make it for the everyday consumer, it made us, which is a pretty medium-sized business, we were buying more from them, and we had better communication with our reps because we would tell them, hey, I'm actually like getting this a little cheaper somewhere else. And they'd be like, no problem, we'll adjust it. So I was actually buying more from them as a result of it. And it made for happier employees, more efficiency, and it was definitely a game changer. So I'm really sad, but I also like, to the distributors that took that position, you always have the opportunity to think again and say, okay, these guys are wicked smart. They're building something wicked disruptive. How do we meet them where they're at and harness that power? And I think that's the miss there, is when you recognize talent, don't thwart it, harness it. And I think there's an opportunity to do that if done right. And I feel very strongly about that.
I think San Marinese, I should bum rush try to buy it. The first guy to offer. I mean, I just don't see a world where it's not a win for someone to allow them to place orders easier into their platform. I would buy it. I would close down anyone else. And then I would make sure to integrate with all the shop management platforms, make it very, one click simple, automate all this stuff that they've already done and that they've figured it out, and run with that. I mean, that's incredible. So anyway, my 2 cents. Okay. If you posed this question last night, it's kind of interesting. It was, hey, if you were starting a shop from zero, based on what you know, which I think is so valuable because you could see around the corner now and you could do the things a little bit smarter. What are the different things that you would do from $0? I broke this down into different departments. I'm curious how you thought, and maybe we can combine these things.
Okay, so if I were starting a screen printing business or an apparel decorating business from scratch, what would I do to build from the ground up? So say I went to Long Beach. I just came back from Long Beach. I've seen everything. I've seen the shiny new presses. I've seen all the distributors. I've seen the Sales Inc. booth. I've seen Printavo. What would I do? The first thing I would do is develop a strong website. That would be priority number one, is make the business look legit using a Wix or a Squarespace, but just making sure that you have a very simple website that you can drive people to capture leads so that your business actually looks legit. That would be step number one for me.
Can I expand on that too?
Sure.
Because oddly enough, Matt Marcotte just posted a like SEO website schema to allow you to build a website that's very SEO optimized. Anyway, go to Matt Marcotte's Instagram. I think it's like marcotte.inc or something. And you can be able to see this. But also I put that down too. So under the marketing category, I have website that's SEO optimized for local ordering. And getting people to funnel in to contact you for a quote. But the most important thing is being SEO optimized.
Then I would make sure I get well-versed in my distributors. So making sure I have my SNS, my Sanmar accounts and all that. I understand decoration techniques, and I have a way to produce garments not in-house. So I have a solution for DTG. I have a solution for DTF. I have a contract decorator for embroidery. I wouldn't go out and buy any equipment to start. I would make sure I have established relationships with a handful of contractors, and maybe they're expensive to start. Maybe it's Printfuls and things like that. But I would make sure I understand my supply chain and that I can actually get garments produced. How would you look at that? Would you buy any equipment to start?
This is my second category here, production. And my question is, Stephen, what would you do here? My limited experience was back when we were running a small manual shop. And I think that allowed us to be able to turn stuff around quickly and be able to get it out the door. Now, maybe you could do that with contract shops now. I don't know. I never got to that point. But I would honestly have a nice heat press. I would have a nice shuttle heat press. I've been through quite a few heat presses now, and definitely a nice push button shuttle, maybe Stahl's heat press.
So you wouldn't buy a screen printing press, but you would buy a heat press and maybe a hat press or something.
Because I think the reality is when you're getting started, you're also doing a lot of jobs that like long term you probably don't want to be doing, but you're getting started. You're building the connections. You're doing the little like friends, little league baseball, the dads get together shirts, like this types of stuff, like kind of 10, 15, 20 shirt orders, building some recognition there. And that heat press allows you to turn stuff around really quickly and then just ordering transfers from wherever, Supercolor or whatever you like.
So if this were 10 years ago or 8 years ago, it would be buy a Riley 4x4 screen printing kit. And so today you're saying buy.
Dude, I'd love to hear in the comments, people that are getting started sooner, but like, this is kind of cool just to like think about on your own for the audience listening, but why have all that stuff? I mean, it's all the like, first of all, the space required is so much smaller. The footprint required is so much smaller. I mean, it could truly be a part of a garage or a room or whatever it is. But then also just chemicals and pressure washer that broke every month and like all this other crap. Nah.
And Bruce, like Chrisette, your wife, she has a little heat press to do her little pop-ups and stuff, right? And that's all she needs.
Exactly. So, and she's done some custom jobs and she cranks on that thing. So anyway, I think the production side. So finding the contract printer though, are you looking for someone local? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm just making sure I spend a little bit of time. I didn't know anything about contract printing when I got into the industry. I learned about it like a year later, that people could actually print for you.
Contract and trade shows were the things I had no idea about.
Yeah. And so, I would probably make it twofold. I think I agree with you. I would buy a heat press. I would understand Stahl's Supercolor. I would understand 3D like PVC patches and all the cool stuff that like Stahl's can do. We've really been going deep on the like faux finishes. And so I would have a really good understanding of that, just to make sure that I could, like you said, crank out little league, little stuff, random stuff, because that's how you're going to get started. 25 to 50 piece orders. Okay, then what? You want to have an Instagram set up at some point, right? But really what you want to really focus on right away is how to sell. So like making sure that you are, whether you're creating leads or you're buying leads from a tool called Apollo, but really understanding like sales comes first, production comes second. You have to establish sales to actually try and start a business. I feel like 15, 20 years ago, people got into screen printing because they're like, I can do this for my band, or I can do this for my PTO, or I can do this for my kids' baseball leagues. I think that's a good starting point, but you immediately have to focus on sales, and you have to make sure that sales is always a priority.
When we started, the way we got our first few jobs is we printed a ton of postcards and just handed them out. This was on a college campus, so it was maybe a little bit easier because there's so many people concentrated in a smaller space. And that's how we got email trickled back in. I would say now, personally, Apollo.io, very detailed filter. So 2 websites, Apollo.io and LinkedIn Premium. So LinkedIn Premium, I think, is maybe $50, $60 a month or so. Apollo.io, I think, is something like that, very similar, and very specific types of people that you're reaching out to be able to send them a really personalized message. And it's not a lot. I wrote down a goal of 5 outreaches a day. So 5, very personalized, something that you really liked about them, a way to get them to respond back because they realize that this was written to them, to create that dialogue. And it may not be a sale immediately, but at least it's an immediate dialogue that you can then follow up on the future. But I would personally try to hold myself accountable to 5 outreaches a day to be able to get folks coming in the door.
Okay, so the other thing that I would do is I would dedicate a certain budget to creating merch for people around you, almost for free. So something that I might do is I might pick 50 organizations in my small community, and I would get their logos for them. I would order transfers and I would make them each shirts and like go drop them off. Like, hey, high school, just so you know, I made you these. Hey, Little League, hey, I made you these. Hey, construction company, I made you these. If you did that, say you produced 5 pieces for 50 companies, 250 pieces, you probably are going to spend a couple $1,000s, maybe $3,000. I think that is a very good, wise investment to make in a young company that's just starting off, because it's literally physically getting stuff to them so that they can actually see what you can do.
How much are you trying to spend? Because right now we've got a heat press. Hopefully, maybe you could pick one up used, let's say $5,000-6,000 there. There's some sort of tchotchke type stuff. Maybe that's another 500. Website, software, this and that. Are you thinking about using the heat press and doing that and just making little kits?
Yeah. I think to launch a screen printing business from the ground, or a apparel decorating business from the ground up, making the investment into your website, making the investment into like, your leads, probably $10,000 to start, 5 to 10,000.
Yeah. I think the hardest part, honestly, is the people aspect, like right out of the gate, right? So, a couple of jobs come in, you're writing up the quote of which, you're putting in wherever, maybe ideally you can afford starting it on Printavo or something, so you don't have to switch from a QuickBooks later. But right away, there's a lot going on. Like, okay, now you're contracting out, you're managing that communication, you're managing the customer communication, you're managing new customer communication. What do you think about first hire in this scenario would be in today's age? Because it's a little bit unique, right? Like, is it a part-time assistant? Because I think cost is also a big deal. Like hiring full-time out of the gate is basically not doable. So is it somebody that can do 15, 20 hours a week? Obviously local, if they could work with you, is great. But if not, potentially overseas and process stuff, or what?
Let's just think about it this way. If you started from nothing and you started to get 2 or 3 orders a week, $500-600 jobs, you should produce those yourself, and you should pick 1 or 2 days a week to belt those out. So it's like the beginning of your week, you're selling, you're marketing, you're pushing. Later in the week, you're producing it, or you're splitting your time. I don't think you try and hire, maybe you hire part-time help to come in and help you, like a friend or family. But I would actually make my first hire a virtual assistant.
What are they doing?
I think they're doing outbound lead generation. I think they're helping you send quotes. I think you're finding like a wizard in that specific thing where you can give them lots of leads and they can send out lots of messages, and they can help you on the sales front, quoting, those kind of things.
My only pushback on that is I think the weight of like, oh, I'm the owner carries a lot when you're reaching out to someone. And then also having someone that cares about and personalizes the message as well and responds back when they reply back, like quickly, to have the value add is hard to find.
But for 40 hours a week, you can go, whether it's a GraphXer or somewhere.com or whatever, for a couple $1,000s a month, you could have someone just focused on that. That's it. That's all they do. Do you think, like, even if they get 2 or 3 orders a week, they're still paying themselves off? But I think the point is, it's a machine that starts to run in the background nonstop, and you're starting on a really good foot. And so maybe that person is just sending out, you said 5 a day, maybe they're sending out 50 a day. And when they get a response, maybe you're taking it over. But the point and the premise here is it just is a motor that starts to run in the background.
Yeah. I like that. I think knowing what I know now, yes, I would very early on have someone helping doing sales almost out of the gate. Now, does that mean that I would be focusing more on operations and getting things out the door? It sounds like it, because until I can afford someone to be able to take that part on too. it's either one or the other. It's like picking the path, one or the other. But I just think that the part-time sales is easier as a stepping stool than a part-time person managing operations. That's the only reason why I push on that. And speaking of operations, actually, you set up our Fabric.Inc.'s bank account system. I think this is like an immediate setup idea thing to do. Can you talk about what you did there?
So
like,
you have to incorporate it as a business. You need to set up a bank account. There's two tools that we use when we set up Fabric. We use Stripe's Atlas. They will set up your EIN number, get your tax ID number all set up. I think we paid $500 for it, and it literally took like 2 days. It was so simple. The second thing we did was we set up our bank account through Mercury. I think it's mercury.io or mercury.com. And what's nice is you can set up, it handles all your bill pay. It creates debit cards, it creates credit cards, and it creates a bunch of accounts. You can make an unlimited amount of accounts. So you can budget, you can put money in different spots when the dollar comes in. You can actually it is a 2025 bank.
But like, what is you set up a percentage thing where there's a couple different accounts. It's the profit first model, but you actually did it.
Yeah. So once I set up Mercury, I set up 5 different accounts like profit, owner's pay, tax, OPEX, and the income account. And it literally was 5 clicks, and you can set up the percentages so that they automatically flush to those different accounts and they sweep every single day or every deposit that comes in. It was so easy to do. And I remember texting you guys. I was like, yo guys, profit first is set up and it's running. And Kevin's like, awesome. I've never done this before. It also handles like your bill pay too. So you can send checks out, and we could order credit cards and debit cards, and like it did expense reports. It was beautiful. Mercury, super simple.
It's like an online bank account, kind of a new age bank account. It became very popular after that like Silicon Valley Bank issue, and like where some of these banks became illiquid. But it's literally what you would dream a bank would be. You can create accounts without talking to someone. You can get bill pay without signing up with a bill.com or a QuickBooks or something. You can categorize transactions. You can send even invoices, receive invoices, handle reimbursements. Gosh, I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, you set up the income account, which is money coming in, operating expenses, where things are operating out of, owner's pay, a percentage goes into there, and profit and savings piece goes into there. And then taxes/savings, like roughly 15% or so goes into there. So yeah, that would be a day one because it creates discipline. I mean, it's just like, it's kind of crazy to think about this. On our last episode, we had Michael Richmond, an EOS business consultant, and he was like, basically you should be starting to do this stuff from day one. And, you have to start working out at some point to build the muscles and muscle memory to be able to do it. And you can't do it too early. So I really like that.
One of the things that happens in a small business is we kind of run around with our heads cut off, and then we realize we need help. It's like, I said this on the last episode, is you shouldn't wait until you're sick to start exercising. You should start exercising day one. So I think it's really, really important very early on in your business to be well supported. So whether it's a peer group, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, a business coach, someone that can meet with you regularly to hold you accountable, because it's going to feel very, very lonely in an earlier part of your business and probably later in your business. And so to build the chassis and the framework of accountability and support and really good habits, it's like kids that learn to exercise routinely and have good, healthy habits for the rest of their life. Those that wait until they're older, it's harder to actually start them. So I would recommend right away being a part of something, if it could be other business owners, but just making sure that you're not completely alone in the process.
Yep. I like that. I mean, I think those are the basics. I would be at a trade show. I'd go to Long Beach. I'd just get immersed in the space. I would purchase a couple software pieces, things like Google Workspaces, get off the Hotmail. Send it from, John at whatevershopname.com. It just looks so much cleaner. Get some positive reviews, ask some folks, some early customers to rate you, make yourself look better. Fill out all the Google Businesses information. It's crazy how much that helps, not only from a perspective when people are looking at it, but then also from an SEO basis. It's really, really good. And
one thing that I would make sure you do out of the gates after you've kind of gotten your feet wet is to start building online stores. So either using like a Printavo merch or an Inksoft. The second you start building online stores for groups, you can quickly get your name out there. And so if you have a little league team that you're printing for, normally they would obviously like collect sizes and give you the order. If you can build them an online store, you can really acquire the entire league of customers, and that data is very valuable to you. And so I think it's the earlier you can recognize this in business, is it's easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to find a new customer. And so if you build that online store for 50, for one league and you get 50 people that buy, you have 50 customers that have purchased from you. You can then email them and say, what else do you need? I can do your bulk orders, things like that.
I like it. The last thing I will say that I think I missed is I would utilize when you feel comfortable bringing on an assistant or someone, and I would do that only part-time, by the way, to help with operational stuff. I would also use that person to help you in your personal life too. So, there's a lot of things that come up personally that I don't want to say distract you from work, but like sort of like you just don't want to deal with, like, I don't know, a vet appointment, doctor's appointment, schedule this, call and change this flight, call the car repair shop and book this appointment. Just all this like little stuff that just chips away at your time and doesn't allow you to focus on the most important things. That person can be able to help you be able to do that in addition to the work stuff.
On the flip side, Bruce, I do want to talk about profit and savings and not spending immaturely. Like, I've talked to some small businesses that run their business out of their personal bank accounts. Like, you need to create separate space, but when you get a big order, say you get your first 300 piece order and you're making $10 a shirt, that's $3,000. Do not go buy something with that $3,000. Like, start building up your bank and saving. Because I think immaturely, when we get a lot of sales, we spend, and then all of a sudden we spend all that money and then sales dry up. And so I think you have to plan for a lot of inconsistency, knowing very well that the business isn't stable yet.
That's true. That actually makes me realize too, I never really thought about, and maybe this is under the realm of creating a business plan or something cheesy, but I never thought about, hey, what do I want this to look like in a couple of years? Like just in a dream scenario, it's hard to know, but just in a dream scenario, like how do I want to spend my day? What do I want to be full-time? Do I want to live here? Like what type of role do I want to be doing? That kind of stuff. It would be interesting to write all down. What kind of money do I want to make from this? That would be interesting to write down and put on the wall so you can keep looking at too. So anyway, 10K. I think you could do all this stuff to get started for 10K. It's a lot of work.
I would be interested to meet a shop that does several $1 million in business with like 2 employees. Show me the most lean apparel decorating company in our industry. We listen to My First Million, Bruce. It's one of our favorite podcasts. And they have people that are like, this person runs an $8 million company with 3 employees. And that fascinates me. And so if you are a lean and mean company that is doing over, I don't know, $600,000-$700,000 of business, and you have like 2 or 3 employees and you are rocking and you are optimized, message us because we want to talk to you because those businesses fascinate me.
Yeah, totally. Reach out. Steven at Campus Inc. or Bruce at Printavo.com. I'm going to save my feedback thing for next time. We appreciate you guys joining us. Have an amazing week. This is fun just to chit chat about. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.